Welcome to Real Talk TV. I'm your host, Darryl Buchannan. First of all, I'd like to thank all my supporters. Thank you guys for watching the show and supporting the show. When you do watch the show, I ask that you not only like it, but can you please share the show and make sure you subscribe to this channel. I'd like to give a shout out to Leaving the Street Ministry. I'd like to give a shout out to Yard Time Entertainment. And I'd like to give a shout out to the Recovery Connection, which is on 31 Main Street in Marlboro. You guys come on down, check out the center. We have new things going on. We have a new staff there. We're trying to get more of the community involved. If you know anybody that's struggling or somebody just needs more information, come on down and we'll help you guys out. I also like to say thank you to the staff here at WMCT-TV. Appreciate you guys, man. Putting the shows together. Always being there for me, and the shows are coming out great. Love the studio, and I know for a fact that this Real Talk TV couldn't be what it is without you guys. So I just thank you guys for that. Without any further ado, I'd like to. I put up a thing about a month or 2 months ago, and I asked that if there's anybody you would like to see or anybody that I should interview or talk to. And this gentleman's name came up. I reached out to him, and he's here today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Patrick Cronin, who's a co-founder of Emory Recovery Center out in Attleboro, Mass. It's also a person in long-term recovery, and I'm here to get some information, and you'll learn a little bit more as we go on. Hey, Pat, how you doing, brother?
What's up, buddy?
I'm good, man. Hey, can you tell my viewers a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, absolutely. First, thanks for having me there.
Thank you for coming, brother.
It's an honor to be able to come in any setting like this and be able to speak on such an important topic. So I appreciate that for sure. I'm someone that's been in recovery for a little over 17 years now. Grace of God.
Congratulations, bro.
Thank you. And I'm one of the co-founders of a newer treatment center that opened about 7 months ago called Emory Recovery Center. Mm-hmm. We wanted to, bring some recovery to that area of Massachusetts specifically. Mm-hmm. I think we've come a long way in regards to treatment in Mass. That we have more treatment than most places do in regards to the country. But that area of Massachusetts, around southeast Massachusetts, is kind of limited with services. So we figured we'd bring some recovery to that area. So it's been great since we did that. Me, myself, I'm, like I said, 17 years in recovery, but it wasn't always like that, So I'm blessed that, recovery over the past 17 years has given me a life that I could never even just fathom. It's just been amazing. And that doesn't mean there's not ups and downs. We all know there's ups and downs, but it's given me the ability to be, a son to my mother and father now. I'm married and I have, 2 beautiful children, live in a beautiful house. And, if you asked me that 18 years ago when I was running the streets and I was a, active heroin user, I'd say you're crazy.
That's not gonna happen, huh?
No. So it's just good that when you have a discussion and you just kind of talk openly about like what happens to people like us.
Yeah.
So
and I want to get into that. I want to ask you before we get into that. What was your environment like the home environment?
Yeah.
What was that like? And can you just explain a bit?
Sure. Yeah. I think that's important because I think everybody comes from all walks of lives.
Yes.
I think. When I tell about my background, I think it's important because I think we talk about stigma a lot, and everyone thinks that, I shouldn't say everyone, but sometimes if you're uneducated to addiction, the assumption is that you fall prey to addiction if you came from a bad household.
Yeah, most definitely.
Which that could happen, but that's not always the case, and that was not the case. We had our ups and downs. I come from an Irish Catholic family, so there was definitely some madness in the house. But I was given every opportunity that you could honestly believe to succeed in life. It was almost like it was maybe given to me a little too much.
Yeah.
That I took it for granted.
Yeah.
My mother and father brought me up the best way that they thought that they could. I have an older brother who's a lawyer, which we went in opposite directions.
Like my brother, he's a cop.
But they brought us up, with great morals and values. My dad woke up every day and went to work and provided for his family.
You saw it, sure.
And I saw that way, and I really wanted to be like that, you know. And I feel like for a period of time in school, growing up into high school, you know, I think that I did here and there, but I fell short. And then it's just some point I went in a different direction. But I wouldn't say, again, you know, that's why I always stress to people, like, I had Sunday dinners at home with my parents. We went to church. We did a lot of different things that would be the opposite of what you would think someone would be like a bad home environment from addiction. But that's just not how addiction works.
No, it doesn't. It's definitely no prejudice. It doesn't care, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah, let me ask you. What age did you first experiment drugs? Where, you know?
So I was a late bloomer for sure. I went to a very good high school, and I went to college, and I started experimenting going into college. So that's late. Late compared to some, you know.
It's right on time as far as the disease is concerned,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It was waiting. It was waiting. I was an addict in other aspects of my life.
Yeah.
Before that, it wasn't drugs. You know, whether it was sports or, you know, chasing girls or whatever it was, I did everything to the extreme. So you know, if I picked up drugs, it was inevitable.
Yeah.
But I would say an accurate age is probably around like 17, 18.
Wow.
Yeah. And it didn't take long. Yeah. You know, it was like almost like it was doing push-ups, waiting for me. Like, you know, this just it went downhill pretty quickly for me too. Quick, yeah. You know.
And how did it end up?
How did it end up?
Yeah.
So, you know, my drinking, you know, escalated. My drinking and, you know, smoking weed escalated into, you know, trying whatever was out. It seemed like I grew up in the era of the Oxycontin epidemic that led a lot of people to heroin. But in that, you know, time frame between, you know, 2000 and 2005, it seems like a new drug was becoming the in at that point. So basically whatever was in at that point, I did. So I went from alcohol to weed to ecstasy to cocaine. And then, you know, I'm a product of the environment of when the opiates just got big. And at that point in my life, I was probably an addict, but didn't know it.
Yeah.
So like the people pleasing part was a big part of me. So if someone pulled something out at a party, I was scared at what you would think if I didn't do it, you know? Yeah. And then once I would do it, it took me out of it. It got rid of all those anxieties and fears. Problem is I didn't know what taking an opiate was really going to do to me. Yeah. And then it went downhill. I graduated, you know, barely. Yeah. And then a year later, I was an IV heroin user, homeless.
Wow.
So
fresh out of college. Right?
Fresh out of college. I always say I was graduating. I went to Suffolk in Boston, and the graduation is at the Garden. That's where the ceremony is. Yeah. So one year I'm graduating from college at the Garden, being handed a diploma, and then the following year I'm a homeless drug addict. So it was quick.
Yeah. Is that when you decided to do something? I mean, was there numerous attempts to do something, or did you get it
numerous attempts? But I wouldn't say that's when I tried. I thought I was different, you know.
We all think we're different.
I'm unique. I thought because of the family that I grew up in and the environment that I lived in, like that doesn't happen to me. Like whatever I'm going through is just a phase. And as we know, like heroin's not just a phase.
No, it's not. No.
It's not something you do on the weekends, going to the movies with someone. So it took a little bit of me banging my head off the wall to realize I had to. And my parents, you know, they were destroyed by this. But they had no education. Back then, there was no talk. Like what we're doing now, advocacy and talking, like this would never happen 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So my parents didn't know what to do. So they turned the other way too.
Wow.
Because they didn't want people to judge them. You know,
yeah.
I lived in a neighborhood that was very judgy.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I get it. Yeah.
So it took me some time, you know, committing crimes and stuff like that. To you know, my parents started saying, you know, my parents got help before
you did.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank God. They learned about the disease. They went to Al-Anon. They went to all that stuff, and then they came home and they said, we got to do something about this. You know, so they raised my bottom, you know, but it was a few times. They take me home, tell me I have to go, take me home, tell me I have to go, until they said there is no coming home anymore.
Yeah.
And you know, that's part of the thing I was telling you. I was very sheltered as a child, so I didn't get to make mistakes on my own. It was like I didn't get to learn from a lot of that because my parents did a lot for me, you know. So once I started going into treatment, it was like a culture shock. I didn't really know how to live life like that.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. One of the things that I went doing when I was doing a little research, you you was handpicked by Governor Baker
Yeah.
for the Erase the Stigma billboard and radio campaign, and your face is all over. I remember looking at it, I was like, damn, you know what I mean? Here's this guy. Right? How did that come about, and what did it feel like? And for you, what message did you want that to bring?
Sure.
And why that?
Yeah. So I think when we were walking over here, I was like starting to tell you when I was around 3 or 4 years sober, I was like very motivated in the like recovery community world. But that was just kind of like either 12-step stuff or it was just very close, like not public. And I was just seeing a lot of people dying that I wasn't used to. Maybe I didn't notice people dying before, but I saw like people were dropping like flies, and now they were becoming my friends, and they were dying.
Hitting home, huh?
So I started getting more motivated to like for us to do more. So I started showing up at opiate overdose task force or events. I just kept showing my face, and that led me to join the organization more.
Okay.
When I joined the organization for more, at that time, Governor Baker, who did so much for recovery and addiction, he decided that he was going to put together a campaign that was going to be called State Without Stigma. And there was criteria that had to fit with if you were going to be part of the State Without Stigma. They wanted you to be involved in the opiate epidemic. I always tell people. So I interviewed you had to like interview for it.
Oh, you did?
And I almost thought it was like the FBI.
Yeah,
it was extensive, like what they went through to like decide if you were going to be what they were going to do. And I was blessed enough that they felt like I was going to be someone that should be able. Me, along with a great group of people, were gonna. I don't know how many of us. There was, I think, six or eight of us that did it. Got picked. And we were going to be the faces of recovery. That's what they wanted. They wanted to basically show the world that, stigma, addiction doesn't discriminate. And, we want to remove the stigma and kind of show everyone that, like, if you need help, you need to be able to ask for it. And what movies 30, 40 years ago in the news portrayed us to look like as drug addicts, like, that's not really it. Like, I was someone that went to high school, went to college, had a great family, and I still ended up like this. So we wanted to show people that this is what the face of recovery is.
Don't discriminate, right? The stigma. So let me ask some. What barriers to recovery do you think the stigma presents? I mean, especially in your own experience.
Yeah. So I think what prevented me from going to treatment when I first.
You spoke a little bit about your family, like, we don't want to.
Yeah, it was people knowing, like that's the biggest thing. Judgment. Judgment. People, thinking you're, this horrible person, and I know I did, horrible things when I was using, but that's not who I am.
Yeah.
That doesn't define me. So I think that stigma around the perception on addiction is a big reason why. Funding, insurance. Lack of beds. So, I got sober, 17 years ago. Back then, like, there was beds, but there's not beds like that there was now, so like.
So there's more beds and more resources.
Yeah, and we're still not where we need to be.
Yeah.
But the resources and the stigma, I think those are like the big ones that I could think of on, what are people going to think about me? I'm asking for help.
Yeah.
I grew up in a household that also said, like, we like when you surrender. I wasn't taught to surrender. I was taught to win.
Fight.
But we didn't know, like, for addiction, it's opposite. You surrender to win.
That's crazy. It is.
And we didn't know that.
No, we didn't. Let me ask you a question. Speaking of the stigma, do words really matter? I remember you was just telling me about the conversation. I got into a conversation, got a phone call. I got checked on Facebook today about about using words, right?
Yeah.
No, and because I do want to be a part of the solution, and it's like, do these words really matter as far as words like addict, junkie? Does that fuel the stigma?
I think it does. I think it does. So like I said, sometimes if I'm sitting in a room by myself with one of my friends, do we sometimes identify as an addict? I think that's just me and a buddy, you know. But if we're sitting in a public setting, or if we're, you know, what I was called junkie many times when I was going through what I was going through, and it was the worst feeling in the world. It was the worst feeling in the world. Yeah, it was just like, so yeah, absolutely, words matter.
Okay.
For sure.
So are there any words, like she said to me, I used, I think I said substance abuse disorder.
Yeah.
And good friend of mine, Angela, how you doing, Angela? She said, no, Darryl, it's substance use disorder.
Yeah.
And we got in a deep conversation about it, and about the language. And I think it goes a little bit deeper than just that basic. How people see us, how they narrate, how they talk about us, how they tell our story. In which way do you think we should tell our stories? I mean,
I think words matter. I think that, I mean, I've been sober for a little bit now, but I think that, I think it, you know, it depends. I've seen a lot of the different lists when it comes to like language, and sometimes I look at it and say, are we sometimes over exaggerating and complicating?
Yeah.
We already have a complicated matter enough.
Keep it simple,
Addiction
right?
is very complex, but there are some words that I see in there that need to be changed. You know what I'm saying? But I do also think that, especially people like us, like I feel like if it's confusing to people like us, and there's people like very new in recovery, and we hit them like a little hard about the words they're using, that might hurt their feelings too, because then we're making them feel bad about an addiction that they're going through. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that we might want to be careful on how confused we want to, you know. But to your point, I think that the words that they're trying to change, like the bigger ones, like junkie and, you know, a beat like that, it makes sense.
It makes sense. Tell me a little bit about Emory. How you know, you did speak about it a little bit, but how did it happen? You know, what resources you guys have available?
Yep.
Who do you accept? What are you guys doing with Emory?
Yeah. So it's a pretty good story. I think, you know, I worked at Moore for many years, and I wanted to be a part of, you know, treatment. You know, so there was you know, opportunities to open up facilities, you know, around the Boston area, and I helped, you know, open up a couple of those 6 years ago. So I did that right after Moore. And they were like kind of bigger facilities, and you know, myself and, you know, some of my other co-founders, we wanted to be part of like something smaller and personable, and we wanted to like make a difference in like a different area. So we kind of came together and we said, let's open up our own treatment center. It's going to be ours, and we're going to do it in Attleboro. So we sat together and we came up with a great plan, and you know, we were very specific about the area that we wanted to be in, because we felt like there's not a lot of resources there, and we feel like the model of care that we provide there, so the services that we provide there is it's considered like an outpatient type of level of care but very intense. It's we're talking, you know, clinical terms, it's, you know, partial hospitalization, intensive outpatient with outpatient, but we also partner with a lot of the sober houses there, so it almost has like a residential halfway house type of feel, because we're so structured. So you can actually stay in a program like ours for, you know, 3, 4, 5 months. We have clients that stay with us for a very long time.
Is that the longest that they can stay? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I tell you one thing we prided ourselves on. We said that we will never let insurance dictate someone's length of there, or we won't turn somebody away and have someone like leave. Like, you know, obviously if they're detrimental to the treatment center, if they're using there, we still won't even just throw anybody out. We'll find somewhere else for them to go if that's the case. But if you're in our program and you're doing well,
we're gonna handle what care.
You stay there. If you're good for the treatment center, we never push anybody out. But our type of treatment is basically meant for someone that's already been like detoxed, right? Okay. You know,
so you come out of detox.
Come out of detox, like I want to go to a long-term program, and we kind of cater to specific needs as well. So we will work with people that have jobs already, or if you don't have a job, we'll help you find a job. So our job is to, like, it's not like, you know, I don't know, you probably know TCs, like back in the day. We wanted to go in a different direction. It's not like a lockdown type of, like, you can't do anything type of facility. We are more of
the rules, the governing rules probably a more TC, structured.
Yes.
A little bit more freedom.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep.
So what is it place that, so you leave detox, you go to Emory.
Yep. You want it like an average day?
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to know a little bit about you.
So you're in groups at Emory.
Yeah.
Like you would be even almost like at an inpatient facility. You're in groups from 9 o'clock to 2:30, and obviously not straight through. There's breaks, lunch, all that kind of stuff, and then part of that is you have your own individual social worker. You have a clinician that's assigned to you, and then you have also a case manager that's assigned to you. Two separate services. So your social worker will do one-on-one therapy, sit here like me and you, and we want to dig and find out what's going on with you, and then they also run the groups. The case management, they focus on outside issues that might be going on. If you're on probation, if you're on parole, if you're taking a leave of absence from work, the case managers deal with that kind of stuff. So it's like kind of two separate. Social workers do therapy, case managers work on like outside type of issues that go on. And then we have a medical provider that's there that, if there's medication, we're all pathways to recovery type of treatment center.
Like that, yeah.
So if you're on medicated assisted treatment or anything like that, you can come to our facility and we will provide you with medication. And then our doctor will be your provider. Once the groups are over, then it turns into like recovery meetings, non-clinical, not like groups with therapists. You're going to, either AA meetings, you're an NA meetings.
Outside, right?
Outside. We take them to those. And if you don't like AA or NA and you want to go to a different all pathways meetings, then we help you with that.
So you guys are for all that, like the medication. Yep. All right, cool. That's and that's in Attleboro.
Yep.
Let me ask you from your perspective, we wouldn't say successful, but how do you think people are doing with that model?
Well, I was telling you, like, I believe that our facility is very nice, right? It's very cozy, but it doesn't have indoor pools. It doesn't have jacuzzis. It doesn't have that. So what that tells me is that what's going on at that facility, there's something going on there really good that these people are staying sober. We got people. Not many people want to leave when they come to Emory. They stay. I know when I was in treatment, I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
I the last program I went to, I stayed sober. But, I think that we have just, and I think that the meetings they go to at night, the camaraderie of the group, there's a really good, the staff there is just bar none the best.
Good. Shout out to the staff. Now, let me ask you another question. Just to get off that a little bit. Do you believe it's a choice? Substance use disorder, a choice or a disease? Choice or a disease?
100% not a choice. I know I see stuff go. I see it always on social media too. And
it's crazy.
Oh
man.
God! And I've grown a little bit in recovery. I used to see people say that kind of stuff when I was like 3 months sober, 3 years sober, and I'd be like, I want to go at them, and I'm like, now I'll just take a step back, and I just say, you know what? They either don't know or they're ignorant to it. They don't want to know more. I'd be more than happy to sit down with them and explain to them this kind of stuff, and I'm sure a lot of other people would too. What I don't understand is how it can be a debate when it's a medical fact.
Yeah.
That's like me saying that, this isn't beige or whatever color it is, or this isn't, like it's not a black or white thing. It's a fact that like the medical society declared addiction a disease. Okay. So I just feel like, that camera's black, right?
Yeah.
It's like if I say it's white, it's wrong.
It's wrong, yeah.
So that's how but it seems like the debate seems to still go on. And sometimes I say, unfortunately, it has to happen to the people that say that it's not. Sometimes it has to happen to someone that they love or it's close to them, and then they change their mind.
Wow, you ain't lying. That's when things happen. Let me ask you another question. In one of the quotes that I read, this is my passion, but you said that talking with students is the most rewarding piece of your recovery.
Yeah.
That resonated with me. I love that. That's when I go out, I like to speak to kids. Can you tell me a little bit about how did that come about, and why is that so important to you? You have the
No First Time.
No First Time.
It's a great name too, and I didn't.
Unbelievable, man.
I didn't make it up.
When I seen it, I thought it was something real wrong.
No, it's unbelievable.
Then I thought about it. Yeah.
So, yeah, just in a period of my recovery, there was I got just because I was very vocal. That's what I tell you. The positives that we gain by not hiding our story, just by talking about our story in different. Someone just recognized me and said, you'd be someone that would be really good to speak to kids in schools. And I love
Somebody told you that before you thought about it?
Yeah, and I love kids, and I said. I just learned that like anything positive that's going to be either recovery related or help other people, I just say yes to. They said, "Do you want me to speak in a school?" Sure, and I tried it. It was actually law enforcement. Like things come full circle. Law enforcement was not. They weren't like my favorite people 20 years ago. Yeah. So they actually do some stuff in schools, and they just said, "Hey, do you want to be a part of this?"
Wow.
And it was the most unbelievable feeling, and that led me into this great. The Greens, they lost their son to an overdose. John Green, that's his name. He lost his son to an overdose, and he created a foundation. They created a foundation in their son's name. Okay. And part of the foundation was that they created a program that they go and speak at schools. They saw I was speaking in schools. They saw themselves speaking in schools. So we joined together. They actually asked me to be a part of their program.
Wow.
And we came together, and just the best part about speaking to the kids was the amount of kids that would pull us aside after we speak, and it wasn't necessary that they were dealing with it themselves because they were 9 years old, 10 years old, but their parents were.
Wow. Their
parents were locked up, heroin addicts, and I got to sit with them, and I just got to hear where they were at, because we forget about them. Right? Yeah. A lot of the focus is just on us, getting us better and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes we forget about these kids that are with their grandparents because of what addiction did to their parents. So us going around and, COVID obviously put a huge, dent in what we were doing with No First Time. But prior to COVID, I think there was the year before COVID, we spoke in, we were up to 20 schools a year, 30. We were speaking all around New England, and it was just.
And that's the No First Time.
Yeah. And how they created the No First Time was.
That's what I wanted to know.
They you think maybe it's impossible, but it's not. I just wish that. Remember, I was telling you when I used to sit in the auditoriums when Dare used to come in and all these people. Oh. I just used to be like, yeah, it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. Which obviously I was very arrogant. We try to stress to these kids that. We know that there's going to be people that experiment. We know that that's going to happen. But what you can be is you can be the one that stands alone and says, "I'm not going to do it that first time." Because if you don't do it that first time, you might not get addicted. And in research shows that if you delay picking up a drink or using anything into your early 20s. And some people think it's impossible, and it's not, because I've met some of these kids that they make a pledge. They say, "I'm going to do this." The chances of them becoming addicted, if they wait until they're 19, 20, 21, when their brain fully develops, the chances of them becoming addicted drop dramatically.
Oh, it did?
And the history shows that. So when we do this presentation, we actually do it, again, it's funny, we do it with a state trooper. State troopers weren't the biggest. I'm not the biggest fan. This is the greatest state trooper I've ever met in my life. His name is John Fanning. He does a whole PowerPoint presentation on the brain and how it hits you in different ways. Breaks it down. So we have a parent that lost their kid. He speaks about losing his kid. I speak as a person in recovery, and then we have somebody in law enforcement. It's an amazing program.
Yeah, love to hear it. Yeah. Let me ask you another question. Do you think that there's a decline amongst the adolescents and young population that are using? Do you think there's a decline? Has it gotten better? Has it gotten worse? Because they're being targeted.
Yeah.
There's a lot of...
Especially with the weed.
I was getting ready to ask you that. That was another question.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you have weed and it's a gummy, you're going after kids. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah, if it's looks like candy, we're going after kids. But, it's here, so we have to just address it the best way we can, while it's here. Would I say that adolescence is going... I think adolescent treatment is less available. I know friends that I have are trying to open up places for kids, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
There's a big movement to try to open up places for kids. I don't think there's less kids using. I just think there's less resources.
There's less resources.
Yeah.
All right. Do we need more treatment centers? Or do we need more services available? or things that we do after treatment, like
Yeah,
what do we need? And what is really, since you're involved, what is really missing? What can we add? What do we don't need more of? In your
we talked about a lot. We talked about this at Moore too when I used to be there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we could ever not use treatment centers. I think like there's times that I call to get someone to bed if they're not appropriate for Emory, if there's just some reason that they just can't come to my facility, I'll try to call another facility, and beds are still full. So I don't think that we don't not need more treatment centers, but I think that once they get out of treatment is the problem. I think once they're in like an inpatient setting or maybe a setting like mine, more integration, more resource, like recovery centers, like Recovery Connect, like those didn't exist before. Like those are unbelievable.
Yeah.
So more recovery centers that focus more on job training, the criminal justice system, like people coming out of prison, like more focus on that type of integration after someone's coming out of treatment, I think is what we lack like that's just like, and it's like the funds, a lot of the funds get put into treatment. I understand that, but there's been a lot of discussions on different type of ways to help people coming out of treatment. And I think that heading in that direction, helping people in like, a recovery center, right? That's peer to peer, right?
Yeah.
We need more peer to peer.
You think that's the one?
Yeah.
It is. That's I've been going there for 15 years. Through all the struggles and everything, but that's been the one place that's been like home. So I agree with you. You know what I mean? And they are opening another one, like you said, in Lynn.
Resume building or jobs. Like,
anything.
We do our best.
Do that there?
Yeah, we do. That's what case managers are there for, but they're only there for a certain amount of time. So when they get out, like they know enough that we teach them, but like just like anything, staying clean, you need that to keep going. You need someone to be able to go when you leave treatment.
Yeah. So answer the question: what are the barriers to engaging people while they're in treatment? What there's some things that you guys have as obstacles.
I mean, unfortunately, it's usually court cases, criminal cases, DCF. Just people's history. Obviously, when they're using it, gets them in trouble, and then when they go to treatment. They're sober now, but now they're starting to feel their feelings. They got DCF in their life. DCF wants to take their kids. Court wants them to show up. Like we'll bring a client to court with us and we'll advocate for them. And like most court systems these days are all about treatment. But sometimes you get someone that they're like, they're better off in jail. And they make them go back to jail. So I think those are the kind of barriers. Now, I don't think that people like us should be able to go around and just commit crimes with no consequence. Like, I don't believe that. But I also think that when someone's in treatment and they're trying to better their life, they should, be able to be, there should be a little bit of leniency. If there's not a long history, if someone's been in treatment 47 times and they're abusing the system, you can see that. But if it's someone's, first time, second time, and they're really trying, but that's usually, and then the other thing I see is like the family dynamic. If a mom goes to treatment and her kids are at home with her husband, or vice versa, sometimes you'll see them pull the other person out of treatment because they don't know how to take care of the kids on their own.
Wow.
We see a lot of the families like get involved, struggling. Like we usually want the families to be involved in a loving, supporting way, but sometimes you'll get families that like that's from what I hear. You see more males are in treatment than females, and a lot of that time is because females put the burden on themselves to have to go home and take the kids. It's a struggle sometimes to keep people in treatment when they have children at home.
Yeah, it's crazy. A little lighter note. So you got this life now. You got a wife. You got beautiful kids. Can you tell me a little bit about them?
Yeah. So
and how they support you. I mean, how it is to be their father, and how it is just to. To be available, and just have this happy family life, man. After such tragedy.
Yeah. So I always say, my wife and my two kids, they've never seen me use, and that's just an unbelievable. My wife has heard stories, so she knows. She's heard stories. She knows people that have, I think she's seen me back in the day in some pretty messed up situations, but like she never was directly affected by it. She herself lost her cousin to an overdose. It was a very close cousin of hers, and that happened while we were together. So she, like, her family is, her whole outside family, cousins, they're so supportive of everything I do as well, and so is So is my family.
Wow.
You know, and I think that she's not one of us. You know, she's what do they
She's
call it?
handling one of us.
Normies, normies.
You
But I don't think she ever probably projected in her life that she was gonna marry someone in sobriety. But like, you know, we talk about it all the time. You know, the best thing, like, I'm not coming home falling down drunk. I'm not coming home, you know, abusing my kids and all that kind of stuff. I can't promise you anything when I'm using that it won't happen. I say that, like, I all bets are off when I use. So if we were together and I was using, I don't know what I could do, but I know that, like, there's a certain way that I act. Now I have my bad days, especially with a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Oh, yours is mine's is 4, so I get it.
But like,
I get it.
when I go home and then when I wake up in the morning and I do their baths, all this kind of stuff, like, I sit there and I try to pinch myself, saying, I can't believe this is my life. Wow. They are like the most important things in my life, and I just try to stress to, like, you know, people out there that want to advocate for people in addiction and aren't addicts or alcoholics, like, people like us prior that's not the life that we lived. Yeah. You see us when we're so. I feel like society's so stuck on the bad stuff that we've done, the overdoses and the stuff like that. We need to talk about more, like, when I go home, I get to kiss my wife and she goes to bed at night, and, you know, I tuck my 2 kids in. Like, that wasn't happening before, but that happens when you're sober, and that's the kind of stuff that, you know, it's just, I mean, if I didn't get clean, I would not be with my wife and I wouldn't have 2 kids. Yeah. I promise you that.
What are your kids' names?
Braden and Skylar.
Wow, it's beautiful names too.
Yeah, Braden just
shout out to Braden and Skylar.
Yeah. Braden just had his two. He just celebrated 2 years. I'm almost saying sobriety. He's 2 years old. We just had his birthday party this week, and my beautiful daughter Skylar is 3.
Great job. I have 2. I have little Darryl is 4, and little Zayla's 2. Whew. Little Zayla's is you know what I mean. But
Skylar's a handful.
Yeah, but you love them. You know what I mean. You get there like you love them. That's good. Is there anything else that you want to say or talk about before I let you talk to the camera? And,
no,
anybody want to give a shout out to people that's in your support network, your wife, whoever it is?
Yep.
Thank anybody that you want to thank.
I'll thank my wife for putting the kids to bed tonight, so I don't have to put the kids to bed, so I can do this. Yeah. But that's the beautiful thing, is she knows that I have to do stuff like this. Yeah. Like, I know that we're here to help other people, but by me sitting here with you, I'm gonna probably stay clean another day.
Good stuff.
You know what I mean? Yeah, good stuff. So that is important. But I mean, I guess I would just say is if you're out there and you're watching, you know, if you're watching this or if you heard this before, if you're in recovery, don't hide it. You know, I understand that people have certain jobs that they might not be able to discuss it, but if you've been thinking that you want to do this, but you don't know how, and you don't think that you're capable of doing this, we need more people to talk about their recovery than their disasters before. Now, obviously, your story is your story, and that helps people stay sober. Like, I tell my story of using in a different setting, but we need more people to talk about how their lives changed because of recovery.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one reason why I wanted to have this platform. You know, they talk, we do, and like you said, overdoses, we get it. But there's a lot of people that are living in recovery, you know what I mean? And like you said, are living decent lives in recovery. And I think I want to promote that more also. Before I do give you that, I do want you to speak to the person that may be struggling, the person that might don't think there's any hope or think treatment doesn't work. Maybe you could speak to them. But before, I just want to congratulate you on you were nominated Recovery Advocate of the Year by Young People. And that's big for me. You know what I mean? I commend you for that. I mean, like I said, I love the preventive part, work with the youth. And what was that about? And how did you feel about it? I mean, these are young people.
Yeah.
How did...
So it was just another organization that got created. People fired up about recovery. You know, they got some funds, and it's actually a national organization. It's not just Massachusetts. So they still have a chapter in Massachusetts, and they called it Young People in Recovery. And it's just a lot about on education, language, and you know, doing stuff like we do, what you do. Yeah. You know.
How did you feel about it though? I mean,
it was great.
I mean, we chased to have these.
I mean, someone at least was like noticing. Yeah. Not just me. There's plenty of other people that got nominated for a lot of different things, but the fact that this is such an important topic for people, I say in order. Recovery's up here, and the reason why my family and everything's like right under it is because without recovery, I can't have them. They know that.
Yeah.
But I'm fired up so much to be able to advocate for recovery because I almost died from this.
Yeah.
When you almost die from something and you walk out of that depths of hell,
Yeah.
I feel like you should be happy about that. And whatever I can do, whatever I can do to try to help people that are going through that, I want to be able to do. It doesn't matter how long sober I am or less. It's just I want to stay fired up for recovery forever.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. No, most definitely. I appreciate it a lot. All right, so now you have your 5, 10, 15, whatever it takes. This is your message, your time to talk to, there's the camera to talk to someone that might be struggling or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just take your time and there it is, bro.
No, I'd say, I myself was in treatment a lot. Mm-hmm. Now, it wasn't just once, it wasn't just twice, it was probably, 15 times. So I, still work with clients, obviously, in treatment, but even in other settings, whether it's meetings or all that kind of stuff. And there's people out there that just like feel so hopeless. They feel like they can't do this. And I was there, so I get that, right? But if you hear, that's why I don't hide the story, because when I share my story with people that I used to get high with, they're in treatment. I got high with them 20 years ago. They know how I used to get high. I wasn't supposed to get, like, if they see me, but I know how this guy used to get high. It wasn't good. And I tell them about my life now. I just hope that's like giving them a little bit of a, a push to like, you can do this. If you're alive, there's a shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's always a shot. And there's people out there that I know. I get the goosebumps still every time I talk about it, that I know personal friends of mine and other people that are still struggling with this disease, but it doesn't matter. The only thing is that this disease is going to kill you if you wait too long. You never know when this disease might kill you, but if you're at home or if you're in a treatment center or anything like, you can get sober. What I had to do was I had to listen to people. That was my biggest thing, is that I thought I knew everything. And there was just one time I was sitting up at Lynn TSS, and I was like, this is like my 15th treatment center, right? I don't know anything, Why don't I just listen to what these people say? Like, I'll listen to they'll give me 5 suggestions and I'll listen to 2.5. And it's like, you wonder why you keep coming back. So I started saying, the people that have done this before me, they obviously know how to do this. So let me just listen instead of always talking. And it was slow for me, though. I didn't just get recovered overnight.
Yeah.
But that little bit of hope that I had when I was in Lynn TSS, just saying, I got nothing right now. Why don't I just start listening to some suggestions? And they told me, they said, you've been in this program, you've been in this program. Let's look at your history. Do you do good in real structure, or do you do good in places that give you a little more freedom? I started listening to where I went wrong in previous facilities, and I said, you know what? I need to go to a real structured halfway house. Yeah. No phone, no this, no that, because I've tried everything else, and it's just not working. Yeah. So that was a little bit of the light went off. And when I went to that program in Quincy in 2005, when I landed there, I said, this isn't me. People my history doesn't put me in places like this, so maybe I'm starting to listen to what they have to say. And they gave me some clear instructions for the program and said, if you want to stay and be a resident of this house, you're going to do these things, or you're not going to be a resident here anymore. Yeah. It's pretty simple. And at that point, my parents took a step back. They finally got the help that they needed, and they said, we're going to enable this kid to death. They got good coaching, and they said, you do your thing, we're going to do our thing, and when you're better, we'll reconnect. So there was a period in time where we didn't talk. And wow. I was always, Mom, sorry for what I just did. Do you have a pack of cigarettes?
Yeah.
That was done.
Yeah.
And I actually was finally relieved that I wasn't doing that anymore. And this program was just unbelievable, and it showed me the tools that I was lacking to stay sober. And every day, they just got me more motivated and more fired up to be sober. And once I cracked that 30-day barrier, 60-day barrier, which I could never do, and I started laughing like the real laughs of like, wow, I'm feeling emotions. I was, shooting heroin and for almost 6 years, just no feeling.
Numbed up.
If I heard someone died that I loved, I couldn't
Shoot
even
over it, right?
Yeah, I couldn't even feel. And that's just such a horrible way to live. So and then there was the bad times that I was like, oh wait, I'm not used to feeling this, and I would cry. But once I was done, I was like, that actually wasn't so bad because I felt it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't like the Walking Dead anymore. And since then it's just been, running around with people like that have been sober a lot longer than me, just to kind of show me how the way is. So
That's what you have to do, right? Not get someone that's less time. You try to linger on somebody more time.
I tell people what probably would have, made or broke my sobriety in the first year was, unlike other times I tried to stay sober, I put myself around way different people this time. I was always hanging around with people that were either still using or less clean, same clean. You want to get with a couple of buddies, but this time I put myself around people that were doing this. Like I saw some of the guys in the house would deviate, and then some guys at like a meeting were like, hey, jump in our car. And I jumped in their car, and that was different. So I feel like because I put myself around different people my first year is what got me to this point. Gotcha. If you're struggling and you're going through this and you're in a treatment center or you're in a program and that's your history of always being around, you can be in sober chaos. You can be around people that are clean and sober, and it's utter chaos.
Most definitely.
I took so like if that's your history and you're hanging around with like people maybe you shouldn't at meetings and all that kind of stuff, like that's a big change that could probably get you over that hump.
Yeah, just change people you hang around with. Cool. So you have anything else, or you all set?
No, I'm thankful for you to bring me.
I thank you for you to come, and I appreciate it. You can always come again. Anybody that would be good for the show.
Sure.
The message you can come in. Thank you, send them in. I'm with it. I just like to thank you again, brother. I just appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? And thank you guys for sharing. Emory Recovery Center in Attleboro, Mass. You can reach out. Pat's there. I also like to just thank again Alex, Ryan, and Mike and Matt. Because Real Talk TV wouldn't exist without it. You guys, please check out the show, like it, share it, and subscribe. And like always, I like to say I love you to Taisha, Little Darryl, and Zayla. Peace.